think of it like that. It's whatever Allah writes, man. Whatever Allah has written for you. I didn't know I was going to marry a Turk.
إنك لا تهدي من أحببت ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Just before we begin, if you support the Young Smirks podcast and you want to help support the channel, please go to the Patreon below and support us monthly so we can keep up with the shows. We've got lots of content coming up. We're going to have special content specifically for the Patreons, as well as a new series on Hijrah, inshallah. So please go to the Patreon below and support the podcast. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. It's John Fontaine. We're here with the Young Smirks. And today we're going to be speaking about Hijrah to Bursa in Turkey. So assalamu alaikum. We've got Muhammad.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, bro. How are you?
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
my Muslim brother,
Yes. Yes.
Somali,
Yes.
but, you know, spent most of your time in the UK,
Yep, that's
growing
right,
up
yeah.
in the UK.
That's right. That's
So, you know, you understand what it's like growing up in the UK.
right. Yeah, very well.
And,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
how was it like? Because we want to get onto your kind of journey about why
Right.
you're here in Turkey,
Okay.
you know,
okay.
but I just want to give a bit of background about yourself.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was born in Somalia, and then left when I was taken by the family. It was about 3, maybe 4, and then we found our way to the UK. So we got to the UK when I was about 1990. So I would have been coming up to 5 years old at the time, and we went to which became home in the end, which was Fulham in southwest London. It's a nice place of the city to grow up, to be honest. It's kind of on the affluent side of the city, but at the time there were very few Somalis. Now there's a lot, but at the time it was more just sort of West Africans, obviously English people and Caribbeans.
When did most of the Somalis start coming to the UK? Like,
I mean, obviously the war started right at the beginning of the 90s, so that's when the exodus kind of started. But in Fulham specifically, they kind of went everywhere. They're obviously Europe, Holland, Scandinavia, England. England, I think, more so because the social system was really good. And at the time, I think the attitude of Europe is not like it is now. I don't think there was too many refugees coming from many places, 70s, 80s and 90s, you know, but now I think Europe's kind of tired of like having to take refugees from everywhere or whatever. But yeah, man, so we came to Fulham, started primary school, so that's how, like, I started in year 1, that's how kind of young I was at the time. But yeah, my primary school, there was 1 Somalian in the school with me. My secondary school, I think there was about 3 or 4 Somalis out of like more than 1,000 kids. So I didn't really grow up in like a Somali culture more. There were Arab kids there, thankfully. There was an Arab community in Fulham, but definitely not so much a Somali. It was really like just my family at the time. Most of the Somalians that I knew I was related to, you know what I mean?
that's
so,
unusual now. Like no. If
I don't know any of them.
move into UK, they live in a Somali community.
Yeah, they do. They kind of look for the areas where the Somalians are living. They're kind of all over the place now, obviously North London, Tottenham, places like that, West London,
So
Wembley.
you became a high-end chef.
I did.
I was shocked when you told me you'd worked in like high-end restaurants.
Yeah, that's right.
With even like Gordon Ramsay and people like that.
That's right.
I was like, wow,
I know, it's a bit of a funny story. There aren't many, because our culture, the women do most of the cooking, right?
Yeah.
So there are some good chefs that are men, but it's not a job, it's not a career that most of them have chosen. And I think for most people it's because they didn't know how much money could be made. I mean, I suppose in any job, if you become really good, you can make a lot of money, but most people didn't realize. So I became a chef, I started chef college in 2004. And at the time, I remember there was like relatives of mine kind of just being like, what are you doing? Because they're thinking you need to go be a doctor.
You're going to be like, when you're studying to be a chef, they think, oh, he's going to get a job as a manager in McDonald's.
Yeah, possibly. This is what I'm saying. But nothing that's going to kind of like it's not held in high esteem. Like,
where did
the idea?
Yeah,
so I mean, it's a good so that's a good question. So firstly, I wanted to be an architect. Being a chef for me personally was never part of my top 10 things to do. So all through school, I mean, the subjects I like history, graphics, things like that. So when I left school and I finished college, I actually went to the States. I went to San Francisco or just outside of San Francisco, to a community college called Marin. and I was studying architecture. And the aim was to try and get to Berkeley College or something like that afterwards, after I'd finished my first couple of years there. But I ended up realizing after about 3 months, my first semester, I realized I don't really like this as much as I thought I did. So I decided to come back to London. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no plans. I just knew, okay, I came back in like January and I'm thinking, okay, September's coming around. I need to figure out what I want to do. And a friend of mine, like we went for dinner, and like, so basically there's a family that my family's quite close to, and the mum came and the dad came to London, and they're Americans, and they were like, oh, come out with us for dinner one time. And I did, and they took me to this black guy at the time, who's called Michael Moore, same as the sort of author and filmmaker in America. At the time, his restaurant was also called Michael Moore. And this was in like the top 10 restaurants in London at the time, you know, one of the best restaurants in London at the time. And what I ended up, the food was really good. And he did something really good that I've never seen ever in a restaurant since then. Whenever customers would finish and they'd pay, him as the head chef and the owner of the restaurant would come out and talk to you. How was the food? Da, da, da. And it was a nice touch. And he came and obviously we didn't know he was a black guy. So he came and like obviously he talked to us and we said, oh, the food was amazing, everything. And he went, and the mum of my mate had said, oh Mo, why don't you think about Mohammed? Why do you think about being a chef? And I was like, be a chef? I was like, no, I can't do that. I burn toast. I can't really make, you know, at the time anyway, you know. Yeah. I was like, I can't do that. But wallah subhanallah, she just for some reason decided to go and like so that day after we'd left, she got back in contact with him at the restaurant and said, oh, by the way, where did you study to be a chef? And he said, yeah, I went to one of the best chef colleges in the UK. It's really old. It's called Westminster and Kingsway at the time, you know. So she just went and got the application form for me and called me one day and said, Mo, look, I've got the application form for the restaurant, for the college that this guy went to. Would you be interested? And that's how it kind of started. And I went, I don't know. So she said, look, just go. You're not doing anything. You're 19 years old. You're not doing anything. Just try it. It's a 3-year course, like really comprehensive course. And they've got restaurants inside the college that actually serve the public, like a really high-end one and a normal one. And the students cook and they're waiters and everything. So I said, all right, cool. She said, try it for 3 months. If you don't like it, just quit and then we can look for something else. And I said, okay. So I went the first month. And the first month they teach you how to use a knife, like different knife skills, filleting and cutting different vegetables and stuff. And I'd cut myself so many times that first month. I had so many plasters all over my hands. I thought, I can't do this job. I'm gonna be missing fingers after a year. Like, this is not. But the second month, we go into bakery. I'm not sure if that's how the curriculum still is, but when I was there, second month you go into bakery and you start learning how to make different types of breads, croissants. And it was a croissant that got me. The first time I learned how to make a croissant, I was like, I love this. I can't believe I can make croissants. And then from there, it was just like, it just lit something in me. And I was just like, oh, wow. Okay, what else can I learn? Well, and subhanAllah, I've kept that passion until today. Like, I don't know how many years later now. It's 2022 now. So we're talking 16, 18, almost 18 years later. Wow. I still love cooking so much, you know.
And you're just about to go on tour with Rod Stewart.
I am
not
indeed.
Singing, though.
Not singing, no, not singing.
You're going to be cooking his food
that's
on
right.
the tour, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We just seen Rod Stewart was actually singing at the Queen's.
That's right, the Jubilee. Is it Jubilee? Yeah. The 70-year thing, that's right.
And I was thinking of you, I was thinking there's...
there's Sir Rod.
So you're basically one of his chefs. And, You told me it's all like vegan food and stuff. So
it's all very healthy food, obviously. Obviously, all these stars, they're very what's the word? They're very. I mean, they have people that control the kind of foods that they eat and stuff like that. I'm sure most of them do, because they all start trying to stay in shape for. I mean, they're in a public figure, right? They're in the public eye, excuse me. So they do have to make sure that they look as good as possible, eat as good as possible. Some of them kind of go extreme. People like Gwyneth Paltrow, I'm sure. I've read articles of some of the things that she eats, and it's just some of them can go extreme, but it is very, very healthy food. Obviously, watching how many calories, types of proteins you're using, sugar intake, salt intake, like all those things have to be managed quite well. So, or stringently, let's say. But I mean, it's my first tour that I'm doing. I spent the last few years in England doing sort of private catering for like sort of high net worth individuals and whatnot. And like, because I did the restaurant scene for quite a while, and then I did the hotels. I was out in Dubai for a bit, working on a resort. So I've as a chef, I've kind of done like the different parts of the industry, you know.
Yeah.
And then I realized really the money is in private cooking. If you like, the really good money is in private cooking.
Yeah.
So yeah, a friend of mine actually called me last year and said the tour was supposed to be last year, but because of Corona, the tour got cancelled.
Yeah.
And I thought it was it. And then he called me again at the beginning of this year and said, "Oh, Mohammed, are you still up for it?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." So yeah, I'll be leaving next week, inshallah. We've got a couple of months out there in total.
So how is it being a Muslim, like working in that type of environment with like?
Yeah, it's not easy.
I mean, you said you worked with Gordon
Gordon
Ramsay.
Ramsay,
before.
I did.
How
yeah,
is he as a?
So I
is
mean,
he as bad as he looks on TV?
well,
or?
this is the thing. I mean, because of so by the time I got to work for his company, he already had like multiple establishments. So he like, it's very rare that you might see him. Or maybe I mean, definitely not now, I suppose, but at the time he'd come in once in a while, maybe once a year or something. He'd come in, obviously be talking to the head chef, the general managers, whatever, to make sure everything's going smoothly, looking at the menus. Sometimes he'd pop into the kitchen and obviously go through some of your like some of the stuff that you have, you know, the food that you have prepared, make sure everything's good. No, he was, I mean, I've met him once, yeah, definitely once. Once I've met him, astaghfirullah. This was after the London Marathon a few years ago when I was working with there, and it was really nice, to be honest, man. It's just obviously intense because it's Gordon, you know what I mean? So it's like, you don't want to put anything wrong, any foot wrong, and if he asks, obviously the head chef, right, let me taste some of the dishes on the menu, then. But as a chef, really, you shouldn't be making food any different for him than you should for the customers.
Yeah.
Working in the type of places I worked in, there were always lots of famous people coming. I've cooked for so many different famous people now, and that have come to the restaurants that I've been working at. And to me, it was never like, to me, they're just a customer. So I'm not going to make you like Jeremy Clarkson's food or David Beckham's food any different than I'm making it for someone else, because they're paying the same money at the end of the day. So
how is it being a Muslim in this type of work environment?
it's not easy, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I suppose it'd be easier if I was living in like a Muslim majority country, because then you don't have to worry about obviously cooking with haram foods or like non-halal like meats and things like this. Obviously for me, it's something that I personally kind of had to have a battle with at the beginning of my career, because like I'll be honest, I wasn't so strong on the deen in the beginning, or especially at the beginning of my career. So I just kind of did whatever I was told to do. So whatever section I'd be working on, whether it's sauces or meats, fishes, whether it's pastries, well, like desserts, whatever section I was working on, I'd kind of just cook. Pork was the only thing I was like, I don't want to deal with that. But non-halal meats, I'd be preparing things like that. But as time went on, and I started realizing, look, this money I'm making is not halal. Like, so this money I'm taking home every month is going to cause problems for me. That's when I started like, okay, I need to take this seriously, man. Because if you're walking around with non-halal money in your pocket that has no barakah, everything I'm spending on it has no barakah. It's just going to bring problems to me. Alhamdulillah, now I'm in a position, because of the level I've got to as a chef. I mean, I'm not a Gordon Ramsay or whatnot, but I'm in a position as a chef now where I can kind of demand what kind of food that I'm involved with, you know, and the chefs that or the people that do request me to come and work with them, they already know this. So they know I'm not going to be touching alcohol, I'm not going to be touching non-halal meat. Really, so if I'm working with non-Muslim people, it kind of narrows down the field. But thankfully, again, veganism is taken off, vegetarianism is taken off. So for me, it's like everything's come together like really perfect, which is really good. Yeah.
So you've been in Turkey a bit longer than me, I think.
Yeah, not too much.
You know, the lockdown and stuff like that.
That's right,
you came over to Turkey.
Yeah.
From what you told me, you just literally came for a holiday to visit
That's
a
right.
friend, and now you're living here.
I live in here.
You're living here. You got married.
I got married.
You got a baby.
I got a baby. Yeah.
And
it's crazy how life works.
How did this happen, Spammer?
Wallahi, bro, I still ask myself that question sometimes, because this was not part of my plan at all. At all, this is not my plan. Like, I literally came like like you just mentioned there. So the first lockdown happened in England, and as we were coming out the first lockdown, heading into the summer, which was June 2020, I was talking to my friend Umar, who's I mean, he's been living out here. He's Syrian, but I met him in Egypt like 10 years ago on a holiday, or an extended holiday at the time. I was out there for, and he lives in Bursa, and he was saying to me, "Oh, come to Istanbul," you know. 'Cause I was telling him, "Oh, I might go to Dubai. We've like the lockdown's finishing. I might go to Dubai or maybe Saudi Arabia for a bit, go and just be out of England for a while, you know, like be in some sunshine or whatever." And he kept pushing me, saying, come to Istanbul, because he knew I'd never been there before. So I was like, yeah, you're right, okay, cool. So I booked a 1 month ticket, and the plan was just to stay in Istanbul for a month, maybe to see other parts of Turkey, and then go back to London. But after 2 weeks of being in Istanbul, he said, "Oh, come," because his family live in Bursa. He was like, "Come, I want to introduce you to my mom and the family and that." 'Cause I hadn't met his mom and the family before. So, and he was like, "Oh, it's really close to Istanbul. Just come, we'll go there for like 2-3 days, and then we'll go back to Istanbul." Mate, after I was in Bursa for 2 days and going around a little bit, Bursa is a really nice city, man. It's a lot calmer than Istanbul. The people are a lot like more friendlier than people in Istanbul. So then I started thinking, hold on, is it possible to like stay out here? I mean, I know on my passport I can stay for 3 months, but I didn't know how long I could stay here for, like a tourist thing, you know. So I started doing some research, and he said, yeah, you can stay for a year at a time. So thinking about like COVID, obviously, I'm thinking, okay, like things are pretty much open here. Like it's not like London where it was a total lockdown. Like here at the time there was sort of, the curfews hadn't even come in at that point. So nothing was like really closed, you know what I mean? Restaurants I could go, things were open, you can go to places, you know. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll stay here for a year, or I'll get the year visa and just see how things go. And if things open up back in London, I'll go back home and I'll go back to work, you know. But subhanAllah, after I was here for about 3-4 months, I ended up, well, I rented a place after about a month and a half, which is still the place I'm in now. And my future to wife, which I didn't know at the time, obviously, I'd met her, she was working in what they call the residence. It's like a private apartments or whatever. She was working in there. So slowly I started to get to know her. Like it took about 2-3 months getting to know her, and then she introduced me to her family, and then it just felt right to say, look, where are we? Because we don't do the dating thing, you know what I mean? So I was like, how do you feel about
And you married a Turk as well.
I married a Turk,
this is rare, you know. And not only rare, but like I was thinking, I've never heard of anyone marrying a Turk. Especially Somalis.
I know.
Like, it's so unusual, right?
I know, it's really, I mean, even the Turks, when I tell them, oh yeah, I married a Turk, they're like, oh, they're all like surprised, you know what I mean? But in a good way, not in a bad way, you know what I mean? But I had no idea, because obviously you have to go and ask the girl's family and the dad for her, like, can I marry your daughter? And I remember my mum on that trip to the house, I called my mum and I was like, oh, you know, I'm going now. I'm in the car on the way to go and ask. And my mum was like, I mean, what are they like? Do you think they're going to accept you? And I said, I don't know. Allah knows. I don't know. But I know the girl, I want to marry her. She wants to marry me. So we're kind of at, like, me and her are on the same wavelength. But it's whether they like, because I don't know the culture here, you know what I mean? Do they accept foreigners like that? And from what I understand, it's not that they don't accept foreigners, it's just they just don't do it. You know what I mean? Very few Turks marry foreigners.
I think the main thing is the language barrier.
The language barrier as well,
because a lot of them don't speak English, so it's hard for them to actually meet someone who speaks English.
Yeah, that's right. So, you won't, there's no communication there, you know what I mean?
But you've learned Turkish.
I've learned Turkish, yeah. I mean, I'm not perfect, but yeah.
No, you are good.
I'm good. I'm not bad. For someone who's been here for the amount of time I've been here.
No,
but my wife is definitely, because obviously she talks a lot and we talk a lot, and so she helps with that. But yeah, man, the family accepted me, alhamdulillah. Like, it was really strange because when the father said yes, and then he asked the mother, do you accept? And she said yes. Then the dad starts crying, he gets up, gives me a hug. The mom starts crying. Then my wife starts crying, and I'm sitting in like, I'm thinking, is this like a Turkish cultural thing? Should I start tearing up? I don't know what I'm saying. I can't. It was funny, but alhamdulillah, they're a really nice family. So I couldn't have asked for better circumstances.
And
we have a little girl now, mashallah. She's a couple of months old now, alhamdulillah. Pretty much. She got pregnant pretty much after a few months, So
I wanted to ask you a bit about your time in Bursa.
Yes, yes.
You travelled a lot.
Yeah.
You've been to the States. You've been
Yeah,
to
yeah, all over
Dubai,
Europe. Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
all over Europe.
yeah.
Why did you choose Bursa over Istanbul? Firstly,
Well, I mean,
because you are from London.
London, a big
you're
city.
used to big cities.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. I mean, I'd say I was born in a big city, Mogadishu, in Somalia. It's not as big as London or whatever, but it is the biggest city in Somalia, or whatever. And then raised in London, and I mean, I guess my whole life I've only known cities, big cities, but I've always kind of been a country boy at heart. Not a country boy, but I've always liked nature more than I have sort of concrete jungles, you know. Like I've always wanted to live in a place where I can see rivers, mountains, stuff like this. But when I came to Istanbul, I loved it, and I had no plans to come to Bursa. And my mate had to kind of push me and go, "Come on, I really want to introduce you to my family." So he kind of strong-armed me into coming. But my first day, wallahi, my first day that I was in Bursa, the hotel that I was staying at, like over the big balcony it's got is looking at this big mountain, Uludağ.
Yeah.
And I sat there having breakfast, and it just felt so peaceful, just looking at the mountain, how beautiful it was. And Istanbul didn't give me that feeling at all.
And Bursa's still a big city. It's still like
It
3
is.
million.
It's 3 million people,
but,
yeah.
But
it's
it
spread
doesn't
out.
feel like
no,
that, does
no.
it?
It feels like a town, really.
It does, like where I live, it feels, even though I'm in a city centre,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
it feels like a village.
Yeah, still.
And you got, like you say, you can see the mountains, you've even got the beach.
The beach is 20 minutes away, yeah, that's right. It's really close. So, I mean, for me, it had the mixture of both. It had the numbers of a city, because 3 million is not small. It's like the size of Birmingham, you know what I mean? Which is the second biggest city in England, or the UK. So it's not small, but it's got the natural elements to it. The beaches, like if you want to go down to the seaside, you can. It's a 15, 20-minute drive. If you want to go into the mountains and have barbecues, you can. Plus, it's got obviously everything that a city has. All the shops, supermarkets, electronics places. There's like, in terms of activities, there's lots of stuff to do. So it feels like a city in that sense, but then it doesn't feel like a city in like, because
do you feel like you're missing anything from the UK at all?
I mean,
the thing I know we miss together. Is Asian food.
Yeah, the food, right? So this is a big thing.
Yeah.
Because Bursa is not like Istanbul, and like even the food scene. Obviously, me being a chef, like obviously generally we eat at home. Yeah, I'll be cooking or the wife's cooking or whatever. But obviously once every couple of weeks, we like to go out and eat. And I don't like going to eat the same food all the time. You know, we might eat Turkish one day, Indian the next day or whatever. Oh, we don't have the option here. This is the thing. There is that one Indian that's opened up, what's it called, Rangil or whatever. But the food scene is not what I would like it to be. Yeah. But slowly, I think it's changing. Now in India's opened up. They got a couple of sushi places.
Yeah.
We went to a Chinese, that's right.
That was all right.
It was not bad, that's what I mean.
But like you say, in Istanbul, it's just like London. You've got so much variety
pretty much
of,
what you want
foods from all over the world.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
When I first came here, like, one time I was just craving Pakistani food, right?
Yeah.
And I actually went to Istanbul
just
to
for
get,
that,
like a curry.
I'm not surprised.
Because when you start craving spices, you need it, right?
You want it.
But now, alhamdulillah, things are changing. There's more foreigners moving in now.
There are.
You got a few more things opening up.
Yeah, that's right. A couple of Arab restaurants have opened up now as well.
But in terms of general stuff, like
life,
day to day, I don't feel like I miss anything here. Like
nothing at all. Nothing at all. Everything I had access to in London, I have here.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's clothes, whether it's electronics, whether it's books, whether it's activities, everything that I had access to in London, I have here. But alhamdulillah, I'm living in a place where I'm hearing the adhan 5 times a day, and there's a masjid on every corner, not a pub. You know what I mean?
How do you find it?
I love it, honestly. I never thought I would like Turkey as much as I did. Because in London, I never really knew any Turkish people. I had one friend, her name was Selin, that I went to chef college with. Now she's actually a very famous chef in the UK. She's like one of the, like she's in that elite circle now of chefs. She has a couple of very successful restaurants. I feel like I've gained more than, because I had everything I had anyway there. But here, I've gained in the sense of, like I'm living somewhere where, well, of course it's a Muslim country, which I've always wanted to live in anyway. And every time I hear the adhan, I still love it because I never grew up in this environment. So for like 30 plus years, I was never in an
You
environment
don't
where you could hear it.
living in the UK, you don't actually realise that that's
Yeah.
a big issue.
Yeah, of course.
Not having the adhan in your
adhan,
life.
of course, bro, of course.
Forget about the masjid,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
the
just the
adhan.
adhan, yeah, of course, the call to prayer, like, yeah.
People say, okay, what time's Asr? I said,
Yeah.
I don't know. When the adhan
Yeah,
goes.
when the adhan goes, yeah, that's right.
I don't look at my
I don't need to
salah
look-
times
yeah.
anymore.
Nor do I.
In the UK, I was
Yeah.
constantly looking at my
Yeah,
phone,
yeah, that's right.
going on Google,
That's right,
whatever it's called, the time, everything.
That's right.
And then you know,
Yeah.
and you're just constantly like checking.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right,
You know,
that's right,
and now it's like I don't know the times. I
You
just
don't
wait
need
for
to know the
adhan,
times. Yeah, you don't
and
need to
that's
know
the time I pray.
Yeah, that's right. Even where I live, actually, because there's a masjid so close to my house. And, I mean, in the summertime, we kind of leave our garden doors open just to have oxygen in the house. Just close the mesh one so the flies and whatnot don't come in and mosquitoes. But, yeah, the Fajr adhan wakes me up.
Yeah.
Like, because I have my door
Yeah,
open, you know. So that wakes me up and I get up and I go to Fajr and come back. But you're right. Just that, it's little things, but to me, it's a big thing, you know.
Bro, it changed my life, to be honest. I mean,
yeah.
I've said this before, like being in Turkey past couple of years now, about nearly 2 years,
Yeah.
having access to the adhan and the masjid 5 times a day.
Yeah.
Because even when I was living in Kuwait,
Yeah.
I couldn't actually hear the adhan from my house.
Oh, really? Oh, you're far away.
When I was living in Uganda, I could hear the adhan, but it was on the other side of the valley. It's like a 20-minute drive. So it's not possible 5 times, you know. And,
Right.
and even in the UK, you know, maybe I'd get a couple of salah in the masjid a day because it was far away. You know.
Yeah, of course.
But you know, we're living in Turkey.
Yeah.
Also helped with the lockdown as well.
Yeah.
That time in, you know, going to the masjid changed my life, really. It
of
really gave me a different perspective on the importance of being in a country that identifies as Muslim.
Yeah, of course.
With the adhan.
With the adhan.
It's so important, bro.
It really is.
That's the purpose of life, right?
It is. I mean, making sure you don't forget your worship to Allah is really the purpose of creation.
So I wanted
right?
to ask you a question because a lot of people message me and say, you know, what's it like, you know, in terms of racism?
Right.
You know, people asking me, you know, is it good for black people? Is it good for Arabs?
Yeah.
And I asked there was some African American brothers living here, a couple of families, Abu Toba was here and a few others, and I asked them, you know, what do you think? You know, how do you feel here? How do you get treated? They loved it personally, but they're coming from America. Like, anything's better than America. So I wanted to ask you, being from the UK,
Bro,
how do you feel?
I'll be honest. In terms of, I mean, when it comes to racism and things like that, obviously, if you are like of the darker persuasion, let's say, right, when you travel around the world, there's definitely as much as I have. There are many occasions where you come across people. I mean, I put it down to ignorance and stupidity, obviously, because not liking someone for something that they had no control over, basically the way you were born, is as ignorant as a person can get. You know what I mean? But I have been to some Muslim countries where some of the people, not all of them, astaghfirullah, but some of the people clearly were treating me in some kind of way that I didn't like. I mean, I hate to use the word racism unless someone's blatantly using racist words to me, you know. Because I don't know the reason why this person's acting like an idiot, basically. But there's a feeling you get from people, you know. And I've been to other Muslim countries and like just clearly being treated in a certain way, like different to everyone else, over very stupid little things, you know. But here in Turkey, again, I had no idea how, when I first came, what Turkish culture would be like towards black people. And my personal experiences have been nothing but good, honestly. They've really welcomed me, even before I was married. Now I'm married to a Turk. Like everyone in my area, like when I leave my house, everyone, like they use this word inishte, which is like brother-in-law, basically. Everyone, everywhere I go in the shop, inishte, come have tea with us. But even before that, even before I was married to a Turk, they were really like, people would come up to me, want to take pictures. It's like really strange, bro. Like I'm in the masjid, bro. It happened the other day when I went to this khutbah, and a couple of guys came up and said, "Can I take a picture of you?" And I'm thinking, well, yeah, if you want to. They're really, I mean, from my personal experience, they've got a positive attitude towards black people, which I found, like, I mean, strange but good, obviously, because people have been nice to you. You know, you're not gonna hate on that. You know what I mean? But I've really liked it, man. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't racist people in Turkey. Clearly there are. There are racist
How
people
has it
everywhere.
changed since you now become quite, to a level of fluency in the Turkish
it's even
language.
better now. It's even better.
Yeah,
because
but even before you knew Turkish, you was having this.
Yeah, even before I knew Turkish, people would like merhaba, merhaba. They'll say hello to you and that, and like obviously I say it back. Obviously, I grew up in London where no one says hello to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I grew up the road that I lived on for more than 20 plus years. I only ever talked to 2 neighbours, and did like the other lot saw me grow up for more than 20 years. There's not even a hello coming out of them in the mornings when you're going past them. So here to just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here to just like random people don't know, oh, merhaba, merhaba. But now that I've learnt the language, the Turks, I've realised, number one, obviously they have kind of an affection towards black people. Not all of them, but the ones that I've come across anyway. And secondly, when they realise you can talk their language, they like you even more. They want to get to know you, your story, where you've come from, what you're doing in Turkey, why you've come, because obviously there's different situations going on here, political, economical.
See, people
whatever.
have to understand, like Istanbul is very multicultural.
Yeah, it's a cosmopolitan thing.
People aren't even going to have time.
Yeah, they don't care.
They're used to black people, used to foreigners.
Everyone.
But here in Bursa, it's a new thing, right?
It is.
Even when they see me, I don't get such a welcome, to be honest.
Right.
This is like the opposite.
Really?
Like when I travel the world, I usually have no problem.
Yeah, of course.
Where you might get problems. But
here,
they're like, because I'm English. They're not really.
Because of the history, right?
Yeah, they're not really liking the English thing. But when I tell them I'm a Muslim,
then they love
change.
you.
They're like, oh, Muslim.
Mashallah.
Just yesterday, they called me over. I was having tea on the street with them.
Right.
And I was telling them I'm a Muslim. He's like, really? You know Quran? So I recited some Quran for him. He's nearly crying. And then the other brother's telling him, you need to start praying. Tell him that one. He's Muslim, but he's probably struggling with his salah. But the point is, it's like, when you tell them you're Muslim, that's it. Then barriers are broken.
The barriers are broken. I've actually noticed, even with the black thing, for some reason they think that a lot of the black people maybe they come across are like sort of Africans that are not Muslim.
Yeah.
So when I tell them, oh, my name is Muhammad, they're like, oh, so they already like kind of like me anyway. They're like, Muhammad, oh, mashallah, you Muslim? I'm like, yeah, of course. My name is Muhammad, of course. And they're like, oh, and then you talk to them in Turkish and they're like, oh, okay, cool. They really like the fact that you make the effort to. But I guess, I don't know if I wasn't married, if I'd learned the language so quickly. I think obviously being married to a Turk has helped me develop the language a lot more. And not like what you be taught in schools when you go to learn Turkish. I learned the language that they use, the everyday Turk would use. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna throw one back now. How did your Somali family act when you? Because it's like because
because they wanted me to marry. I'll be honest. My mum wanted. Of course, my mum. I guess it's a cultural thing for most people. They want their kids to marry like people that look like them, share the culture. I think with me, my mum deep down has always known that, like, okay, Mohammed's probably not, like, there's a chance he might not marry a Somalian, you know? I think she's kind of always known that. So for her, I think she's kind of taken the stance that, okay, as long as it's like she's a practicing Muslim and everything, this is the most important thing for her. And the same thing for my dad, really. So it hasn't been a struggle, man, at all. I thought, when I told my mom I wanted to marry a Turkish girl, there was a bit of apprehension, like, is there going to be some kind of pushback on this? But no, there wasn't.
So now you have a child now, your first child.
Yeah, that's right.
So, comparing raising a child in the West, or specifically in London, or raising a child here, which one would you prefer?
That, for me, it's not even. Sorry, I got tongue tied there. It's not even a question. I do not want to raise any of my children in the Western school system. I will say that like proud, honestly, because the thing is, I mean, look, okay, you can teach them. You can have good levels of standards when it comes to math, science, whatever, geography, like graphics, these kind of things. But I think in the West, they don't want to, there isn't the freedom for you to teach your kids your way of life. It's basically you, like, they want to impose their morality. And schools shouldn't have anything to do with teaching kids about morality and things like that. This should be coming from the families, you know what I mean? But over there, it's, man, I hear some horror stories, man, honestly, as far as I'm concerned anyway, of like all this transgender and whatnot, and asking little kids 4 or 5 years old, don't know anything about life, don't even know, forget what gender they are, or how do I feel. Like teachers are asking them, how do you feel, and things like this. And there was something I read the other day, where in Scotland now, teachers don't have to they're not legally obliged to ask parents, can we question your child about how they feel, like in the body that they're in or whatever. This is crazy, man. What are you doing talking to a 5-year-old about? These are 5-year-olds that believe in dragons and whatnot, and their grasp of reality is not even there yet. You know what I mean? So what do you mean, oh, they're old enough to know about these questions? I don't want that for my child. And if I did have a children in England, I was very clear on, I had very clear convictions that if I, for example, was to be married in the UK and have kids, I would keep them there up until they get to school age, and then I would like have them raised somewhere else, because I can't have that, bro. At least I know here I'm not gonna have the same issues. You know what I mean?
So you think Bursa and Turkey in general is it's okay for at the moment? It's a good place for raising.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with how I want my child to be raised in a Muslim environment, for them to be in an environment where to say that they come from a Muslim family or have Muslim beliefs is not looked at like. And I'm sure in the UK teachers probably I'm not slandering UK teachers, because I'm sure there's many hardworking good teachers. You know what I mean? But obviously, because they don't share the beliefs that I have on many things, then for me it's a case of, okay, I don't want my child being taught stuff that my religion doesn't allow, my moral compass doesn't allow. I mean, I don't want that. And here I don't think I'll have those kind of issues. Don't get me wrong, Turkey's got its own issues in terms of in terms of the deen, how many people are living the way they're supposed to live or whatever. But that's a problem for many people in Muslim countries, not just Turkey.
The thing I found with Turks is even the people who are not necessarily that religious, they still have good morals. They're still culturally Turkish.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And they're not promoting all that rubbish.
Yeah, that's right.
How was it in terms of the ease of staying here, getting your visa?
A lot easier
renting a property.
Yeah.
As a foreigner, how?
Yeah, okay. So renting a property, alhamdulillah, for me again, was very easy in the end, because I've heard again a lot of horror stories where they will charge a foreigner sometimes 6 months up front rent, sometimes a year up front rent, whereas for the average Turk it's like a month, 2 months. You know, alhamdulillah, again for me it's just like Allah was just making it easy for me to stay here and to find that particular house where my future wife was working right upstairs. So it was like I was supposed to be there, you know? And I had no idea, obviously. I thought I had a plan, but I had no idea that this is bro. So the rent thing was pretty easy for me, but I know a lot of foreigners have had issues. There's a friend of mine actually came from Fulham, and he came to Istanbul to get his teeth done, and I invited him here, and he liked it so much he rented a place, and now he wants to bring his missus and the kids here and that. They were here actually during Ramadan. They were here, but they charged him 6 months. And he wanted the house because the price was good. But the visa is the easiest process I've ever had in my life for getting a visa. Like, I've had a visa for the States. I had the student visa that took like 8 months to get ready. For Dubai, that took about 3 months to get the work visa. Here it was so quick, man.
It's changed slightly since we've
been here. Yeah.
There's a few more restrictions, but it's still very possible.
It is.
There's just certain areas now.
Yeah, that's right.
Areas that are highly populated with foreigners.
They're
trying to just
have a quota on them.
Trying to move people into other areas.
Which I kind of agree with, to be honest. I kind of agree with, because you don't want to have an area that's just all foreigners, because then you run the risk of not mixing with the locals and not becoming part of the culture if you're planning to stay here for a while. But if you're surrounded by like all English expats or like European expats, there's the big chance that you'll just kind of just stick in that community. So in a way, I think it's a good thing. We don't do that in England. In England, what we do is we have like a whole area that's just sort of Asian or Somalian and then they end up just mixing with other Somali people, never really mixing with the locals. You know what I mean?
There's some areas like that, not in Bursa, but I think there's a Somali community in Ankara.
Oh, Ankara, there is.
Yeah, and I think
There's parts
It's
of
like a
Istanbul too.
Somali Arab community.
Right, in
Like
Istanbul.
Bashikshah has some
Yeah, yeah.
Somalis, some Arabs.
Yeah, that's right.
It's more like Western Muslims and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting, like, because a lot of people just tend to go for Istanbul,
Yeah, that's right.
and
Yeah,
they
it's
don't
the
know
famous
nothing
place.
about Bursa.
No, and it's so close as well.
Everyone who comes is pleasantly
Yeah,
surprised.
how
by it.
nice it is, I know.
Yeah, and the history of it as well. Like, this
That's
is
right,
the
that's
original
right.
capital
That's right.
of the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
right.
like historically when there was,
Yeah.
you know, looking at
Yeah.
Constantinople,
Yeah,
ready to.
Yeah, that's
you know,
right.
wanted
They were here
to
for
take
ages
it over,
before.
Yeah.
That was it more than 100 years or something
Yeah,
before
yeah.
they took what was Constantinople at the time. Yeah.
And Orhan
right.
and Osman Ghazi are buried here. You know,
Yeah,
they
that's
were
right. That's right.
the founders of the empire, and
That's right.
it's got so much history, and you see
does,
it when
it
you're
does.
walking around,
Yeah, that's right.
having
Yeah.
the mosques.
Yeah.
They're just speaking about it, you can hear the
Yeah,
adhan now.
that's
you know.
right. That's right.
And
know
that's
it's
the
the
beauty
lifetime.
of it.
Yeah, that's
So,
right. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
Have you got any final things you'd like to mention?
Wallahi,
before
yeah, before we pray. No, you know, I mean, in terms of Turkey, I would honestly say to anyone I mean, for me, I've always wanted to live in a Muslim country, but obviously having that thing of being like growing up in England and having that culture or whatever, and having access to certain amenities and things in life, I always worried about having a bit of a culture shock if I went somewhere that was too opposite to how I lived in England. So I would definitely say maybe the last point I'd make is Turkey is probably the closest thing you will find, I've seen anyway, in terms of like modernity. Modernity, is that the right word? I'm not sure. Like all the modern amenities that you could want, you have it here, but it's in a Muslim country, which is probably the best thing. So yeah, anyone thinking about possibly making that move, Turkey's not a bad option, man. Yeah, it's like
and in a lot of ways, they do it better in many ways as well.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, like
That's right.
like some of the infrastructure here, like
Yeah.
like even in terms of like waste management.
Yeah.
They
We talked about this
empty
yesterday.
in the bins
Every
like
day.
3 times a day.
I know.
So
I know.
two, 3
I know.
times a day.
A day.
You
In
know,
England,
and,
it's once every 2 weeks
you
now.
know, you don't have to mess with these, and
Yeah.
you've got natural recycling going on.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
That's right.
the people who
The
come
guy-
around, you know, they're
That's
taking
right,
the
that's
stuff.
right.
You don't have to have like 5 bins.
No, you
know, in
don't.
the UK,
They emptied it for you.
My parents have got like 3 or 4 bins.
I
Plastic,
know.
paper,
Bro,
know.
they now it's once. I don't know how. I mean, if you're aware of this, it's once every 2 weeks they take the rubbish now.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And if you miss it,
that's it. Yeah, things are just gonna pile up and stink and whatnot. Here, it's a lot cleaner than people
and they're very
realize.
clean.
Yeah,
It's
they're
a
very
clean
clean.
country.
Yeah.
They have like a someone cleaning, like he has his own block to clean.
Yeah. That's right.
You
that's
know,
right,
and
that's
then
right.
you're praying as well with him.
That's right.
and
Yeah,
he's drinking
absolutely.
tea with him.
And even the trust levels here are really good. Like
Yeah.
I went to the hospital the other day for
That's another
to do
thing.
something, and
Yeah.
I parked in a car park and I didn't have cash on me, and I normally try and not have cash on me anyway. I just use my card. But as we were driving out, the guy was like, "Oh, it's this much," and I said, "Oh, brother," I said, "Oh, I don't have cash." I said, "Look," because I was meant to come back that day at 4:00, and this was the morning. I said, "I'll come back later on today." He's like, "All right." He said, "Okay, cool. Just pay me later." And that would never happen in England. No one's trusting you, bro, like that. They'll tell you, right, you get out of the car, go to the cash machine.
Yeah.
Like the trust like that is really good, man.
Another thing as well, healthcare wise. So how was the treatment with having your baby
I
and
think
everything?
having the baby, I had like I became lactose intolerant when I came out here. Every time I've been to the hospital here, whether it's with the baby or it's the missus or myself, like there's no waiting times. I'm in straight away. The hospitals I've been to, super clean. The doctors are, like the health system in this country, I think is way better than England.
Definitely,
It's
I
way
agree.
better than England. I know it's not free, but like it's not that expensive either. You know what I mean? It's not like America expensive, where a small thing can cost you thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? It's not like that at all. So yeah, the health system is amazing. It's really, really good, man. My wife had like a blocked off room, and then there was a separate room. It was like a living room. It had a big TV, 2 long nice couches, like a lazy boy type thing.
Yeah.
And like the
Your
bathroom
own
was
bathroom.
massive, yeah. And then there was a wardrobe for your clothes and that. I had never seen it. It had two big flat screen TVs, one for my wife and one for the guests. I took a video and showed my mum. I was like, "Where are you? You're in the hospital, you're in the hotel." I thought, "No, this is the hospital here." It's amazing. I would definitely recommend people to come here. I think the only thing I regret now is not coming here earlier. Honestly, it's kind of the only thing I regret. But everything has its time. Allah is the best of planners. So yeah, man.
May Allah bless you and
Ameen,
bless your
ameen.
family and
Thank you
your,
so
and your
much, brother.
children.
Ameen,
And
thank you so
you
much.
know, Jazakallah khair. Thanks for
Thank you
sharing
so
your
much,
thoughts,
brother.
and
Thank you for
hopefully
inviting me.
people benefit from this.
Inshallah,
And
inshallah.
even they might not come to Bursa, but it gives them encouragement to
Yeah, to make
to
that
look at
move.
alternative places to live.
That's right,
you know,
that's
and,
right. That's right, bro, that's right.
Jazakallah khair.
No, thank you so much for having me with you, bro. Jazakallah khair. Thank
Assalamu
you.
alaikum.
Alaykum salam wa rahmatullah.
إنك لا تهدي من أحببت ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء